It is non-negotiable. Senate tells state governors to do the needful as judiciary workers stage protests nationwide. The Senate tells governors of the 36 states to implement full autonomy for the judiciary. And INEC rates the riot act to political parties over conduct of acrimonious congresses and primaries. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimbale in Lagos, where we've had some clement weather that ushered in the day. But let's begin with some interesting political stories for you. On some of the major streets of Nigeria today, judiciary workers have staged protests seeking autonomy of the sector. But before we get into that conversation with my guest tonight on the program, let's take a look at some security matters. There are still some security worries in the southeast region of the country, even after governors announced Ebube Agu a security outfit for the region. There are attempts and attacks on security facilities, at least in two states in the region, in the last 48 hours. And a former Nigeria Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Azubuike Ihejirika, is reacting to the recent attack in Anambra State by government and security challenges faced in the southeast states in recent times. We're speaking to newsmen at the government house in Owerri, the Imo State capital, after a meeting with Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State and some other southeast leaders who came to discuss with the governor on the rising insecurity in the southeast region.
For us, which we must rise up to in the southeast, is agreeing that what we need now is not what is happening, and that whatever that will stand as a distraction to the political class and leadership should be jettisoned, while agreeing that we will give attention to the issue of insecurity. We should also not, as leaders, allow it to distract us. We must be focused, because until we elect leaders of our choice, until we elect people that we choose, government will not function properly to our satisfaction.
Well, General Ihejirika has thrown his weight behind Ebube Agu, the new security outfit that is set up by the governors of the southeast region. Take a listen to him.
That we do not want a southeast in the mode of Afghanistan or Somalia. We pride ourselves as Igbos, as people who are endowed with intellectual capacity. So we want southeast to be the Japan of Africa, and not anything less.
Still on the issue of security, the national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Prince Uche Secondus, has asked President Muhammadu Buhari to declare a state of emergency on the security situation in the country. He told journalists that when he visited the home of the late Afenifere chieftain, Yinka Odumagin, in Lagos, that the security situation in the country demands an urgent and drastic action.
The most painful, which is the current situation in our country. The security architecture has broken. The country is in dire, serious crisis. Not only one section, from north to west to east. And we call on President Buhari to declare a national state of emergency on security. People are dying. You don't even know their numbers.
Well, we have some other stories for you on our political roundup.
President Muhammadu Buhari today met with his vice, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, where he received briefing from him in his office upon resumption after a 16-day medical vacation in the United Kingdom. The president left Nigeria on Tuesday, March 30th, shortly after a security meeting with defense and intelligence chiefs, as well as other security sector managers. The president also met with the acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Usman Alkali Baba, at the State House. The president as well received the newly sworn-in president of Niger, Mohamed Bazoum, at the State House. On hand to equally receive the Nigerian president were members of the cabinet and some governors. And the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, is asking former governor of Imo State, Senator Rochas Okorocha, and his family members not to be discouraged by the current political situation in Imo State, describing it as a lot of contentious politicians. Speaking in Abuja while on a solidarity visit, Mr. Wike said he's prepared for the political travails of the tenure and advised Senator Okorocha to continue to pursue his vision of a new Nigeria, adding that his present challenges are not meant to dampen his spirit and force him to abandon his ambition. Adding that his present challenges are meant to dampen his spirit and force him to abandon his ambition. The National Vice Chairman of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, Mr. Dan Obi, believes that Edo State Governor Godwin Obasaki's claims of additional 60 billion naira allegedly printed by the Central Bank of Nigeria to augment federal allocation to states was in good faith, devoid of malice or any political undertone. Mr. Obi is also asking CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele to assure Nigerians that the Apex Bank can sustain the economy rather than resort to blackmail by threatening states who receive bailout to pay up immediately.
The revelation by Governor Godwin Obaseki is a sad reminder of what happened in Uganda under former President Dada Idi Amin.
And let's tell you quickly that the electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has read a riot act to political parties over what it is described as conduct of acrimonious congresses and primaries. INEC has frowned at the recurrent acrimony, violence, and destruction of property the congresses and primaries have experienced in the past days and is warning against such acts ahead of the preparation for the Anambra governorship election. INEC went further in a statement released today to say that, quote, this commission will not stand askance and watch party conventions and congresses degenerate into farcical rituals and violent fiascos and threaten lives and destroy property. For the avoidance of doubt, INEC will henceforth reconsider its involvement in these events should they continue to put lives of members of the public and staff of the commission at risk. Henceforth, there will be far-reaching consequences in any situation where party congresses and conventions degenerate into violence and destruction of INEC property. End of quote. And now to our conversation for tonight. There is a popular saying that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. But it appears that hope is being dealt a great blow today with some of the events of the past days. Judiciary workers have down tools and have taken to the street demanding financial autonomy for the judiciary. In Abuja, Lagos, and major cities across the country, the protesters converged, displaying placards stating their demands. Meanwhile, members of the Nigerian Bar Association, who also embarked on a solidarity march, joined in the call for the financial autonomy for judiciary. The Senate today, however, asked governors of the 36 states of the Federation to implement full autonomy for the judiciary, saying that such is non-negotiable. Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, made the demand while speaking today to journalists in Abuja. And tonight, we hope to find out more from him on the problems and solutions to the issue of autonomy of the judiciary. Senator Opeyemi Bamidele is our guest tonight on the program, and he joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Senator, for coming tonight. I know how important and critical this is for you as a senator. And on one hand, you are also a lawyer, and this is very critical. And let's get into it. First and foremost, Senator, you said today that nobody stands to lose anything by granting independence to the judiciary. at the state level since it has been done at the national level. Have you had conversations with the state governors on why they are not implementing the autonomy of the judiciary?
Well, thank you, Sheung. I think, like I said earlier, which I'm also re-emphasizing, it's a thoroughly unfortunate situation that we're having to deal with at this point, because this is one strike that would have been totally unnecessary. Now, we cannot take aspects of the Constitution that are convenient for us and run with them, and the ones that are not convenient for us, we jettison them. We cannot run any kind of government that way. Section 121, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as altered, is very clear on this. It says any amount that is due in the Consolidated Revenue Fund of a state shall be paid directly to the House of Assembly of the state, as well as the judiciary of the state. So it's a constitutional matter. The National Assembly had legislated on this. As a matter of fact, the National Assembly cannot make the law or alter a constitution without the input of stakeholders, including at least 2/3 of the state houses of assembly. So all of this had been done. It is the law that whatever amount is due to the federal judiciary in the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation shall be paid directly to the judiciary and to the National Assembly, whatever is due to them. And Section 121, subsection 3, makes provision for the same practice at the state level. So we are not looking for the law. The law is there. It is the law. We are talking about implementation now. As a matter of fact, there is nothing left for the State House of Assembly to do on this matter, because the law has been made. And what we just need is implementation.
So why,
now,
Senator?
Look at it from
Senator, why are the state governors foot dragging, or why is it difficult for them to implement? The law is law, like he said, but why is it difficult for them to implement?
Yes. Well, I'm glad the governors are talking. I mean, I want to believe they mean well for their various states. They mean well for the country. They also have their own challenges. When there was an executive order a few months ago, and Mr. President was saying whichever state failed to comply with Section 121, subsection 3 of the Constitution, such money to the judiciary or the State House of Assembly should be deducted from source, when they are doing the federal allocation committee level to share funds among the states and the federation and the federating unit. All of us said, no, don't do this, because the executive order was not in the best interest, of our constitution. And we didn't even think, if we are talking about true federalism, the federal government cannot be telling the state government on how to share their money. So the governors had a problem with that. And the governors were very right about that. And Mr. President, of course, realized that and suspended that executive order. That is only to the extent that you cannot spend money on behalf of these governors. But it's now for the governors themselves to do the needful. It is the law. And to have spent the last 2 weeks of the JUSUN strike allowing so much waste within our judicial system, for me, is thoroughly unfortunate, because it is the litigants that will suffer. It is the lawyers that are suffering. I'm in the Senate. If I were not a senator today, I will also be in my law firm practicing. It will mean that I will not be able to go to court and do what I'm supposed to do to my clients. So all of these are not in the best interest of rule of law in this country. They are not in the best interest of this democracy.
All right.
The independence of judiciary, I say again, is not negotiable. Whatever the issues are with our governors, and I'm happy they are addressing these issues need to be speedily attended to, and they need to come to a conclusion as soon as yesterday. Of course, the chairman of the Governors Forum made it clear that they had reached some decisions. They were waiting for Mr. President to be briefed. And we're happy the president is back now. I'm sure they'll be briefing the president on their decisions. But as far as we are concerned, this calls for an urgent intervention on the part of all the stakeholders, especially our governors. Now, let me
explain Senator,
this,
just a moment. Senator, just a moment. I will allow you to explain that because we're due for our commercial break. When we come back, we look at what annoyed the governors in the Executive Order 10 that the president actually signed off onto, and where a lot of people say they shouldn't be annoyed. This is what is supposed to happen. The national level, at the federal level, is being done. So we look at it, and aside the anger of the governor, there are also fundamental issues. Some judges have not had their salaries reviewed for almost 10 years. We'll look into some of these issues when we come back from this break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on the program, and welcome back to the conversation. I have Senator Opeyemi Bamidele. Senator Opeyemi Bamidele is the Senate Chair of the Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters Committee, and he's been talking to us. He's also a lawyer, and perhaps one of the premise by which this conversation will have a headway, and we're looking for solutions. We'll also have news just coming in that the Nigerian Governors Forum has assured implementation of financial autonomy for state legislature and the judiciary by May 2021. We understand that the chairman of the NGF, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, gave the assurance after a meeting with the chief of staff to the president, Professor Ibrahim Gambari. That sounds like a good news, isn't it, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele? How do you react to that? There is a promise by May 2021, they will make it happen.
Well, definitely that's good news, and that's a way forward as far as we are concerned. And if that is the position of the governors, then I want to say that it is time for us to now call on the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigerian members to please reconsider their own position with respect to the ongoing strike. I think it's time to leave the streets back to their offices. They have made their point very clear. Part of the reason why, as a Senate, we refused in the last 2 weeks to call on them to suspend this strike was because we felt that it's not every time there's a strike or an attempt for people to protest that you come out to say, oh, please don't do this. If that is the way they can push their position or make their position known to the world without being violent, I think sometimes it's good to allow people, to express their view. Because if you look at it, this is only one out of several areas that are calling for urgent attention, on the part of government. The judiciary staff have made their own point. We have other categories of staff, other categories of Nigerian workers who are asking for one thing or the other. It's time to go back to the drawing board and really deal with these issues. You have other sectors of Nigerians who are asking for different things. People are calling for restructuring. They are calling for all manners of things. It is time to go back to the drawing board and deal with these things. Don't wait till people get on the streets before we begin to run, from pillar to pole and trying to see how to break strikes. It takes more energy to do that. It's important to know that when people are shouting that they're hungry and you are giving them food, everybody will continue to say you are a saint. Then, you are law-abiding. But the moment you begin to ask, why are people going hungry? Then people begin to call you another name. We should not wait for a time that people will start saying, why is it that the poor don't have food to eat? Now that you see how people who will go out of their way to give food to the poor, to eat, to help, to try to negotiate on behalf of people, to sit down in dialogue with government, I believe it's time for us to really deal with these issues. We are in government, yes, but we are not more Nigeria. We don't love Nigeria more than the people who are outside complaining or protesting. We are all stakeholders in the Nigerian project. And it's important that we all sit down to discuss, what should be the way forward. The governors have done well, as far as we are concerned, by coming to that conclusion. And I think they having agreed, it's time for JUSUN to also
put an end to this strike and go back so that judges and judicial officers can go back to work, lawyers can do their job, and litigants, can get back to the courtroom. But it's a lesson for all of us that, there are things we cannot run away from.
It brings me to the point, if the governors are promising May 21, that is just in few days, is that feasible considering the process that government usually take in making all of these financial process come through? Do you think that is realistic?
Well, Shehu, let me put it this way and to also explain this to Nigerians. It is possible, it is feasible. And in saying that, I want to emphasize that granting fiscal autonomy to the judiciary does not necessarily mean more money to the judiciary. Mind you again, remember the words of the Constitution. Whatever amount is due to the judiciary and the State House of Assembly in the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the state shall be paid directly to them. For the judiciary, it shall be given to the heads of court. That's the old essence. So it doesn't mean that governors are going to be giving judiciary more money than had been budgeted for them. It only means that no chief judge will have to carry his file to a governor's office. Just like the Chief Justice of Nigeria will not need to carry his own file to Mr. President's office to go and get approval. Whatever is allocated to them as their budgetary provision should go directly to them as a first-line charge agency. That's what this is all about. You're talking about fiscal, independence. It doesn't mean more money. Having more money for the judiciary is a struggle for another day. It's an issue for another day because definitely judiciary does not even have enough money. And like you said, some of our judges had their salaries and remuneration reviewed last in 2008. That was 13 years ago. For 13 years, every judge that you see in this country had been on the same salary for 13 years. How realistic it is, how equitable is this? To what extent can we guarantee that our justice system will work and there will be enhanced justice delivery? The welfare of this judicial officer doesn't mean anything to people.
So it brings me to that point. I was going to ask you, because when we're talking about independence of the judiciary and even the legislature, there are a lot of steps to it. The appointments, the issue of qualifications, the tenure, the security of the service, the salary is a major part of it, and the prohibition of practice and retirement. These are issues that have come up. But like you said, money or salary is not the only issue, but it's a major issue. You mentioned that since 2008, most of the judges have not had their salaries reviewed. I'm not sure even in the private sector you will find that kind of thing happening. So for those who say this independence of judiciary process that we are going through is a scam, are they right?
Well, they are not. If they say it's a scam, they are not right. It's not a scam. The point is, what are the issues? The issue for which reason people are on the street protesting today is with respect to fiscal, which is financial, fiscal independence of the judiciary. Essentially, calling for the implementation of the provision of Section 121, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution as altered. And it simply says, whatever money is due to the judiciary must be paid directly to them. That is it. If the governors are saying by May 21 they will implement, that settles it. It's already settled at the federal level. I'm now saying that when it now comes to the welfare of our judicial officers, that's another issue altogether. That's not why they are on the street today. And hopefully that will not become an issue before government does something about it. Hopefully we won't see our judges themselves carrying placards. Hopefully,
unfortunately, the judges are vulnerable, Senator. The judges are so vulnerable that they cannot even protest. It's difficult for the judges it's difficult for the judges to speak for themselves because you even hardly hear them. And so this is all equally very important. But we're out of time, Senator Okoyemi Bamidele.
Yes.
But I will allow you 20 seconds for your final thoughts.
Yes. Well, I will just say this. Our judges are vulnerable. They cannot speak for themselves. That's why all of us must continue to speak for them. But no democracy can thrive without it being founded on rule of law and independent judiciary. The independence of judiciary should go beyond they having access to whatever is due to them in the budget. How much is due to them should also be an issue. There is a need to give more money to the judiciary for them to be able to do what they are supposed to do. There's a need to review the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court and other areas of our court so that justice delivery can be more straightforward, can become a much easier thing in this country, and we must not be left behind by the rest of the civilized society and communities of the world.
It's such a great pleasure to have you, Senator Okoyemi Bamidele, Chairman of the Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters Committee at the Senate. Thank you so much indeed for your time tonight.
It's my pleasure, Sean. Thank you.
But that's how we close the program tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sean Okimbale. Have a splendid evening.